Vāseṭṭhasutta, where Vāseṭṭha addressed the Buddha. We ask this of Gotama, the eyes arisen in the world. Is one a brahmin due to birth, or else because of actions? Translated from Tipitaka Mūla by Bhikkhu Sujato, read by Dr. Marlai Ouch. Ontology of Discourses 3.9 with Vāseṭṭha. So I have heard at one time the Buddha was staying in a forest near Ichanangala. Now at that time, several very well-known, well-to-do Brahmins were residing in Ichanangala. They included the Brahmins Janki, Daruka, Paukarasate, Janusaune, Tataya, and others. Then as the Brahmin students, Vāseṭṭha and Pirithvija, were going for a walk, they began to discuss the question, how do you become a Brahmin? Pirithvija said this, when you are well born on both your mother's and father's side, of pure descent with irrefutable and impeccable genealogy back to the 7th paternal generation, then you are Brahmin. Vāseṭṭha said this, when you are ethical and accomplished in doing your duties, then you are Brahmin, but neither was able to persuade the other. So Vāseṭṭha said to Pirithvija, Master Pirithvija, the ascetic Gotama, a Sakyan, gone forth from a Sakyan family, is staying in a forest near Ichanangala. He has this good reputation, that Blessed One is perfected, a fully awakened Buddha, accomplished in knowledge and conduct, holy, knower of the world, supreme guide for those who wish to train, teacher of gods and humans, awakened, blessed. Come, let's go to see him and ask him about this matter. As he answers, so we'll remember it. Yes, sir, replied Pirithvija. So they went to the Buddha and exchanged greetings with him. When the greetings and polite conversation were over, they sat down to one side, and Vāseṭṭha addressed the Buddha in verse. We're both authorized masters of the 3 Vedas. I'm a student of Paukarasate, and he of Daruka. We're fully qualified in all the Vedic experts teach. As philologists and grammarians, we watch our teachers in recitation. We have a dispute regarding genealogy, for Pirithvija says that one is a Brahmin due to birth, but I declare it's because of one's actions. O clear-eyed one, note this as our debate. Since neither of us was able to convince the other, we've come to ask you, sir, renounced as the awakened one. As people honor with joint palms the moon on the cusp of waxing, bowing they revere Gotama in the world. We ask this of Gotama, the eye arisen in the world. Is one a Brahmin due to birth, or else because of actions? We don't know, please tell us, so we can recognize a Brahmin. I shall explain to you, said the Buddha, accurately and in sequence, the taxonomy of living creatures, for species are indeed diverse. Know the grass and trees, though they lack self-awareness. They are defined by birth, for species are indeed diverse. Next, there are bugs and moths, and so on, to ants and termites. They are defined by birth, for species are indeed diverse. Know the quadrupeds, too, both small and large. They are defined by birth, for species are indeed diverse. Know, too, the long-backed snakes, crawling on their bellies. They are defined by birth, for species are indeed diverse. Next, know the fish, whose habitat is the water. They are defined by birth, for species are indeed diverse. Next, know the birds, flying with wings as chariots. They are defined by birth, for species are indeed diverse. While the differences between these species are defined by birth, the differences between humans are not defined by birth. not by hair, nor by head, not by ear, nor by eye, not by mouth, nor by nose, not by lips, nor by eyebrow, not by shoulder, nor by neck, not by belly, nor by back, not by buttocks, nor by breast, not by groin, nor by genitals, not by hands, nor by feet, not by fingers, nor by nails, not by knees, nor by thighs, not by color, nor by voice. None of these are defined by birth, as it is for other species. In individual human bodies, you can't find such distinctions. The distinctions among humans are spoken of by convention. Anyone among humans who lives off keeping cattle, know them Vāseṭṭha, as a farmer, not a brahmin. Anyone among humans who lives off various professions, know them Vāseṭṭha, as a professional, not a brahmin. Anyone among humans who lives off trade, know them Vāseṭṭha, as a trader, not a brahmin. Anyone among humans who lives off serving others, know them Vāseṭṭha, as a servant, not a brahmin. Anyone among humans who lives off stealing, know them Vāseṭṭha, as a bandit, not a brahmin. Anyone among humans who lives off archery, know them Vāseṭṭha, as a soldier, not a brahmin. Anyone among humans who lives off priesthood, know them Vāseṭṭha, as a sacrificer, not a brahmin. Anyone among humans who taxes village and nation, know them Vāseṭṭha, as a ruler, not a brahmin. I don't call someone a brahmin after the mother or womb they came from. If they still have attachments, they're just someone who says, sir. Having nothing, taking nothing, that's who I call a brahmin. Having cut off all fetters, they have no anxiety. They're slipped their chains and are detached. That's who I call a brahmin. They've cut the strap and harness, the reins and bridle too. With crossbar lifted, they are awakened. That's who I call a brahmin. Abuse, killing, caging, they endure these without anger. Patience is their powerful army. That's who I call a brahmin. Not irritable or stuck up, dutiful in precepts and observances, tamed, bearing their final body. That's who I call a brahmin. Like water from a lotus leaf, like a mustard seed of a pinpoint, sensual pleasures slip off them. That's who I call a brahmin. They understand for themselves the end of suffering in this life, with burden put down, detached. That's who I call a brahmin. Deep in wisdom, intelligent, expert in what is the path and what is not the path, arrived at the highest goal. That's who I call a brahmin. Mixing with neither householders nor the homeless, a migrant with no shelter, few in wishes. That's who I call a brahmin. They've laid aside violence against creatures firm and frail, not killing or making others kill. That's who I call a brahmin. Not fighting among those who fight, extinguished among those who are armed, not taking among those who take. That's who I call a brahmin. They have discarded greed and hate along with conceit and contempt, like a mustard seed of the point of a pin. That's who I call a brahmin. The words they utter are sweet, informative, and true, and don't offend anyone. That's who I call a brahmin. They don't steal anything in the world, long or short, fine or coarse, beautiful or ugly. That's who I call a brahmin. They have no hope for this world or the next. With no need for hope, detached. That's who I call a brahmin. They have no clinging. Knowledge has freed them of indecision. They're plunged into freedom from death. That's who I call a brahmin. They're escaped clinging to both good and bad deeds. Sorrowless, stainless, pure. That's who I call a brahmin. pure as a spotless moon, clear and undisturbed. There ended delight and future lives. That's who I call a Brahmin. They've got past this grueling swarm of delusion, transmigration. Meditating in stillness, free of indecision, they have crossed over to the far shore. They're extinguished by not grasping. That's who I call a Brahmin. They have given up sensual stimulations and have gone forth from lay life. They've ended rebirth in the sensual realm. That's who I call a Brahmin. They have given up craving and have gone forth from lay life. They have ended craving to be reborn. That's who I call a Brahmin. They have thrown off the human yoke and slipped out of the heavenly yoke, unyoked from all yokes. That's who I call a Brahmin. Given up discontent and desire, they are cooled and free of attachments. A hero, master of the whole world. That's who I call a Brahmin. They know the passing away and rebirth of all beings, unattached, holy, awakened. That's who I call a Brahmin. Gods, centaurs, and humans don't know their destiny. The perfected ones with defilements ended. That's who I call a Brahmin. They have nothing before or after, or even in between. Having nothing, taking nothing. That's who I call a Brahmin. Leader of the herd, excellent hero, great seer and victor, unstirred, washed, awakened. That's who I call a Brahmin. They know their past lives and sees heaven and places of loss and has attained the ending of rebirth. That's who I call a Brahmin. For name and clan are formulated as mere convention in the world, produced by mutual agreement. They are formulated for each individual. For a long time, this misconception has prejudiced those who don't understand. Ignorant, they declare that one is a Brahmin by birth. You are not a Brahmin by birth, nor by birth a non-Brahmin. You are a Brahmin by your deeds, and by deeds a non-Brahmin. You are a farmer by your deeds. By deeds, you are a professional. You are a trader by your deeds. By deeds, are you a servant. You are a bandit by your deeds. By deeds, you are a soldier. You are a sacrificer by your deeds. By deeds, you are a ruler. In this way, the astute regard deeds in accord with truth. Seeing dependent origination, they are expert in deeds and their results. Deeds make the world go on. Deeds make people go on. Sentient beings are bound by deeds, like a moving chariot's linchpin. By fervor and spiritual practice, by restraint and by self-control, that's how to become a Brahmin. This is the supreme Brahmin, accomplished in the three knowledges, peaceful, with rebirth ended. Know them, Vāseṭṭha, as Brahma and Sakka to the wise. When he had spoken, Vāseṭṭha and Tipitaka said to him, Excellent Master Gotama, excellent. From this day forth, may Master Gotama remember us as lay followers who have gone for refuge for life.